Step on. Likee.
Hello everyone, it's your boy Sailor Francis. Now I'm stepping into grounds that has probably started. If you've seen my previous Star Wars video involving which talk about how I would see Rey, which come to think of it, if depending on how she was depicted in the movie, if if she was a Jedi, if she was a Sith, and when it's like great Jedi, it's pushed aside as a fanfic character. Yes, it's not. It's a Legends theme, so it's technically not necessarily fanfic, but it's not really canon. I know what I realize if I realize that if I'm going to step in, I'll have to prove that it is possible and not impossible because there's no way to prove. I mean, it's not that there is no way to prove because when you say Qui-Gon Jinn or Ahsoka were true Jedi's, I think to myself, what does that make Anakin? I mean, Anakin left the Order and disdained the name Jedi. In the end, he did come back for the sake of balance. So, so if that's if okay, so if that's the case, if that's the case of that, that if you're a Jedi, you cannot use dark side abilities almost or so you have to low key tap into the dark side because of anger and fear. The question is, explain Luke. Explain Luke. Like Luke's new order, he allowed them to use a couple dark side abilities, but not to fully tap into the dark side. But in a way, aren't they dark Jedi or just regular Jedi? Like clarify that. And also in another way, I understand that Starkiller is a video game character, but in a way he should be canon. But in the basic explanation of if it's possible to be known as a Gray Force user, excuse me, because when you say Gray Jedi, I can understand why a lot of people who say that in order to balance out the light and dark, the dark is dangerous as the light, because in the dark you cannot see, in the light you are blinded. Once again, cannot see. But based on because if I were to bring up a couple of Great Jedi organizations or the Vosten Mix, which are also legends, that means that that means that in general it'll be pushed aside based on it being based on it being legends. But in proof of why it's possible, it's merely of how the Force is viewed, because the Force would always be viewed as something in the light. But in reality, the living force seen as the balance. Like like I guess one very good example is the father, which if you've seen like in the Clone Wars, the father was the father of the light and the dark. And yes, he didn't look. And yes, he didn't look gray at all, in a way, or he was gray. But Anakin was able to use the Force to balance both of them, even though it was his destiny for him to fall to the dark side, kill the Jedi for the sake of balance, then kill the Sith for the sake of the balance. And again, I'm not gonna put him in the gray area because in the end he turned to light, or so it seems. But he became a Force ghost, so no, I will not try to go after that because movie we all seen episode 6. We have all seen how that goes. So cannot disprove it there. But in the ways it is possible, like of in the movies, yes, Qui-Gon Jinn left the Jedi Order what and was more of a fanatic and was more of a great Jedi in the way of he viewed the Force and followed the will of the Force. Even though this is the exact same way that the Jedi thought, they assumed that in order to follow the will of the Force, you shouldn't do A, B, C, D. While while the Sith, surprisingly accepting the power of the Force, were able to and pretty much of Sidious having his IQ that high, which was also knowledge borrowed off from an interview of the actor for Kane Dyer. So I didn't know, and Palpatine was that smart that he realized that for sake of balance, um, Anakin kills the Jedi. He comes to me, and then and then and then Luke and Leia. Once again, this part I didn't realize that for 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 balance it was a story part. But what I'm trying to say is an individual can balance both and see it as no different. Because let's be honest, if George's Lucas's um, purpose of creating Star Wars was to show was to reflect our society in way, or to reflect what life is. Because doesn't life have great moments? Because that cannot be just because evil cannot just be evil. Because can't evil can be used for good or good can be used for evil, or can they be just both no different in a way? Because that's life in general. And if George Lucas' job was to do that, then he must have a way to clarify that. He must have a way to put that in Star Wars in some way. Like if that's what he's going for. Now, yes, he has only clarified that the Force works in ways through people, but one person cannot master the Force in a way of, okay, you cannot master the dark side because you have to give in to your fear. But isn't there a way to master your fear and still be angry? Because anger doesn't come from your fear alone. Alone, isn't it possible to be passionate about something without having fear of losing it? Isn't it possible to win, lose, be angry, and have zero fear? Isn't it possible to be annoyed by a simple thing that is not that is not fear mongering, and to still at then be at peace? Isn't there a way for you to win and lose and not be afraid but just sad or reflective? Isn't there a way to be angry and grateful in a way, even though you cannot really be both? There are a lot of people I like that in the real world, and if George Lucas is reflecting that, then yes, being a great Force user, it's possible. Yes, that when you say Jedi, great Jedi, and and try and try to separate and master both is challenging because of the dark side. But what if you have no fear? Then like what if? Now yes, in a story perspective, he hasn't covered that. But look at Qui-Gon Jinn. Yes, he didn't touch the dark side, but he, along with Ahsoka, went on as, from Dave Filoni's perspective, went on as a true Jedi. I'm like, what? Have you seen the way Ahsoka fights? Have you seen the aggressive stance, the aggressive stance she took in Clone Wars? Yes, she didn't kill Darth Maul, but she didn't hesitate to kill some of the Mandalorians in the last parts. Okay, you know what? Like like to kill some of the Mandalorians and then go on to fight Darth Maul in a way we haven't seen any Jedi do it. So should Jedi that, because most of the Jedi's would take mainly defensive forms or defensive stances, but shoot Jedi when I mean yes it's, but like seriously I still feel like that in a way it could still come off as fanfic. Is it really fanfic? Because if George Lucas' whole purpose was to reflect um, what what is in the real world, and the real world has grave views as well, then he should have a way of admitting in there. I'm not gonna bring Ray into them, even though I did post it in my other video of where I would where I put Ray. I said I put her in a gray Jedi way, even though she is the daughter of Palpatine, which is it like I was like okay, but the way they put it in was handled terribly. Also, um, since Darth Vader was kind of kind of referenced in the Mandalorian in a way, which we'll get to. Explain Luke, like explain why Luke. Okay, Luke's a Jedi. We want to explain that. Explain the explain the reason why he used dark side abilities. Yes, he's a more progressive Jedi, but he's dabbling with the dark side. He's gonna fall, or is it gonna master, or is he still strong in the light, or does he just use like explain away Luke then? Explain May Sudu and how he hit the dark side in him. That was the only way he could have probably defeated the Emperor. Like you yes, I agree. Balance can work through people without them knowing, and how it affects the story, the battles, and and how the Force affects, and how people who are not Jedi and are just Sith would have knowledge of that because they fell, and they can look up and see what what they have fallen from or risen from. The problem is that look at Obi-Wan killing Darth Maul. Oh, the Jedi don't Jedi don't kill. And yes, she's and yes, she says verbatim, "I'm not a Jedi." And you could say she's a true Jedi in that matter. She's not even a Sith because we haven't even seen her use any dark side abilities. Even though she did give in to her anger. That's like the only way she survived against Darth Vader, and then nearly have her head cut off. Ezra, of course, gave in to the dark side and then jumped back, but that was a whole failure for Ezra. But in general, in my defense, yes, that term Great Jedi is not canon, but it written in legends through characters like Darth Revan, who was able to merge the light and dark to be a balanced Jedi for the sake that he merged in both light and dark and saw it as no difference and as just being called the heart of the Force, even though it was said that it was made up by Finn, but in a way it's still possible. So, like, instead of saying Grey Jedi, which that also can be possible for people who master both sides, Grey users.